war game, having a terrorist group hijack a commercial airline and fly it into the Pentagon. The email was obtained by the nonprofit group Project for Government Oversight.
The people who gave it to us were clearly concerned for some period of time that this kind of event could happen. And they were pushing very strongly on trying to exercise this event.
The idea was to check response times to launch fighter jets. But according to the Pentagon email, the plan was ultimately rejected by senior Pentagon officials as too unrealistic.
It certainly does not reflect as well on the policymakers that may have been saying that there was no conceived way that anybody could be thinking of this.
Still to come are questions, big questions, about NORAD's response on the day of the attack. Why, despite all the exercises and the planning, Peter, jet fighters were not in place anywhere near New York or Washington.
It's quite an amazing story. Many thanks.
Jet fighters were not in place anywhere near New York or Washington.
It's quite an amazing story. Many thanks.
We knew he hated us. But there was nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government, that could envision flying airplanes into buildings.
This is all very upsetting to me. I get very angry about this. The lies. I could analyze that little 3-minute newscast for days. Why there weren't fighters in place? I have stacks of mainstream news articles, the Pentagon's own reports. 20 minutes in a car from New York. There's one of the biggest U.S. military bases in the world that has responsibility for fighter intercept of hijacked jets, you name it. Hundreds of fighter aircraft. They were ordered to stand down because of a drill on the morning of 9/11 by the CIA. And we have those articles from the Associated Press posted on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Now understand, there was a drill on November 3rd, 2000 by the Pentagon of flying planes in the World Trade Center and Pentagon. This is from the Pentagon website from 2000. We posted it on the website 2 years ago when we found it because of a Pentagon tip, and then it was taken down. But we screen saved it 2 years ago, 2 years before 9/11, now 4+ years. Then you have the drill on the morning of 9/11. But the news isn't talking about that. By the way, the drill on 9/11 was reported by the Associated Press. I just told you earlier that we broke that story with our government sources before the Associated Press. After we reported that there was a CIA drill that ordered NORAD to stand down, damage control again went into gear, 2 AP articles within weeks saying, yeah, there was a CIA drill. The CIA has now announced that morning at 8:30 in the morning of exactly what happened on 9/11 happening, but it's all just a big coincidence. Then the second AP article said, not that it was hijackers in the first drill, which they first said, but, oh, just planes off course. But the actual program did say it was hijackers. So this is all damage control. They're coming out now saying NORAD had drills eerily like September 11th. This is all being done to condition you. So when you hear us talk about planes flying into buildings, when you hear us talking about drills of doing that, and drills on 9/11, and drills 2 years before 9/11, when you hear that, you'll think, oh, yeah, I already heard about that on the news. It was just a coincidence. No, forget the drill that never happened. There are at least 2 other drills we know happened. One on the morning of 9/11. And again, that was used as the stand-down order because the people in NORAD aren't bad. They're good patriots. But if they're told stand down, these 4 planes off course with their transponders turned off for over an hour, normally if your Cessna's off course for 5 minutes, the tower will call you and say we're launching fighter planes. It's always been that way for the last couple decades. My father's a small plane pilot. I've been in the plane with him when he goes off course a little bit, and they, FAA calls up asking what you're doing. They micromanage you. But magically on 9/11, this doesn't happen. With Payne Stewart, the golfer, it did. Within 5 minutes, F-16s are launched. Within 18 minutes, they've surrounded him. But not on 9/11. That's because they, quote, ran a drill on 9/11 of exactly what happened on 9/11 happening magically and use that to order NORAD to stand down. Now, I have this from people inside the government before the AP even reported it. But a lot of you said, oh, there was no drill of flying hijacked planes into buildings. President Bush wouldn't lie, and here it is admitting the drill. But they're not focusing in on the other admitted drills. Very serious. All right, now we're going to go to a C-SPAN piece that was done on March 12th in the early morning hours, March 12th of 2004. And Brian Lamb of C-SPAN and this professor do a hit piece on me. And notice that they don't have any facts. They don't have any data. They're saying broad things. They're using labels. And there's a lot of disinformation here. So we're going to go ahead and go through that. Here is C-SPAN. And I'll be stopping this, making comments throughout it. Again, there's Brian Lamb on C-SPAN and doing his little hit piece, and we're going to try to counter it in a little bit of time we have left.
Thanks. Coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to talk about conspiracies. On my way in this morning, I was listening to a radio show that many of you probably hear overnight called Coast to Coast AM. George Norrie is the host. They had Alex Jones as the guest, and Mr. Jones is the fellow who has a radio talk show based down in Texas, I believe. You can hear it in some places around the United States. And he was talking about how all the decisions have been made at the Bohemian Grove Club out in California. That's where all the people involved in the worldwide leadership of governments and where they make the decisions, including President Bush and his father, meet out at the Bohemian Grove, make the decisions. I think I heard him say this morning that the George Bush president and Dick Cheney sealed the deal out there at the Bohemian Grove Club. There are plenty of websites that you all...
Okay. And again, I'm going to be stopping this and making comments. I went out to Bohemian Grove in July of 2000. We went in. All the rumors were true. They were doing occult ceremonies. It's been on national TV now. That's all admitted. And I get home, and my mother calls me and says, son, it was just on CNN that Dick Cheney's going to be Bush's running mate. Colin Powell told the Associated Press this while at the Bohemian Grove, that the decision had been made there between Bush Sr., George Herbert Walker, and Dick Cheney. And then I'm driving down the road, and I hear it on local ABC radio on KLBJ. And later we found the news article. And Brian Lamb later brings this back up and says, well, what a conspiracy theory. Stuff isn't happening at the Grove. Why, Dick Cheney was the head of the Vice President Selection Committee. Why would he, be selected at the Grove? The Grove admits in documents they've released to the University of California at Berkeley, kind of their mouthpiece, that, we hatched the Manhattan program here for the nuclear bomb. Well, actually the A-bomb that grew into the hydrogen bomb. And, we hatched Star Wars in 1979 before you heard of it. And we hatched perestroika here. I mean, this is all mainstream news. But I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy theorist because I believe there's a new world order because presidents are saying it on national television, and at least 50 groups are putting out publications calling for world government. Please continue.
We've said conspiracy is our topic at the top of the hour, and looking at Alex Jones's, and he's by no means the only person involved in this discussion of conspiracies. He makes a living off of it. But on his website, for instance, he has a listing, the impending staged capture of bin Laden. That's a lot of things people feel are organized behind the scenes with the Bilderbergers, the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Masons. You can keep going down the list. And the Illuminati, One World Government, New World Order, Skull and Bones. Thanks for your calls during this first hour when we open the phones and let anybody talk about all these different issues. We are going to switch the topic to conspiracy. And on your screen is Professor Michael Barkin. He's in Syracuse. And I want to start by first saying good morning, but asking Professor Barkin what his favorite conspiracy is.